Hello everyone, my name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Umineko When They Cry, Episode 5, where it has been declared that Natsuhi is the culprit of this episode. Even so, she actually isn't. We just can't prove otherwise, therefore she has been declared as such. Now we're back in the game, back many hours before midnight, and Erika is stating the whodunit, the how done it, why done it, whatever it was. Right now we're kind of going over, I guess, the third part of it, the why, but we're kind of sidetracked to, if it isn't Natsuhi, then it has to be Kinzo. And this is actually going to corner Natsuhi further because Kinzo isn't actually alive.
3階書斎の窓からお出かけになられたまま行方知れず。そうでしたね、バトラさん。夏日さんと同じように金蔵さんにも全くアリバイがありません。実は今回の事件、金蔵さんにも犯行は可能なんです。私はてっきり最初からいらっしゃらない人物だと決めてかかっていたので、今の今まですっかり失念していました。それをお詫びいたします。
She didn't look shy or apologetic in the slightest. Erika bowed in as unpleasant a manner as ever. She had held a grudge ever since her defeat in the study battle. She really has.
夏日さんは金蔵さんの信頼を受けて最もその身近でお仕えしていた方でしたよね。なら夏日さんが一番よくわかっているのではないでしょうか。この事件が実は後宮金蔵さんによる当主の犯罪であることを。
お父様を犯人呼ばわりすると。
ご安心よ。金蔵さんが犯人ということであっても、ホワイダニットを構築できるだけの証拠と証言をすでに十分に用意してあります。あなたが金蔵さんをかばうために自らを犠牲にしたという筋書きでも十分に対応可能です。近年探偵の推理さえも筋書きに組み込まれている可能性がありますから、本当に油断ならない時代になったものです。
お父様を犯人呼ばわりするなど、この私が許しません。
夏日さん、頭を冷静にして胸に手を当ててよく考えてください。あなたが実は金蔵さんが犯人でしたと告発してくれれば、この事件は全て解決するんです。あなたの濡れ衣は晴らされ、名誉も回復されるでしょう。
In other words, by pushing the crime onto Kinzo, Natsuhi would be saved. However,
私はお父様より後宮家の名誉を託されたの
no,
です。
you haven't.
その私が濡れ衣を晴らすためだけにお父様の後宮家の名誉を自ら汚すと。
Of course, Natsuhi knew that she wasn't the culprit, and she also knew that Kinzo wasn't. So being framed herself and pushing the blame onto Kinzo were both unacceptable, unbearable outcomes.
いいんですか？すでに散々立証しております通り、あなた以外のアリバイは全て証明されています。あなたが金蔵さんを告発されないならば、やはりあなたが犯人だということで、今度こそ本当に特定され真実となってしまいますよ。
私を犯人だと決めつけることがあなたの真実だというのなら、お好きになさればいいでしょう。私が無実であることを神様はきっとご存知です。必ずやいつか。
If it came to a choice between her and Kinzo being framed, Natsuhi wouldn't sacrifice herself. Perhaps this was her way of protecting the Ushiromiya family's honor.
チャンスをあげたのに。
Stupid woman. Goddamn. This future where your name will eventually be cleared doesn't exist for any of you, not for any of the pieces on this board. Natsuhi had made her decision. If they were going to call her the culprit, she would let them. She boldly rejected the thought of selling Kinzo's honor to gain a momentary truth where she wasn't the culprit. And therefore, the tale was woven with her as the culprit, In the future, if the accusations against her are proven false, this tale will probably be rewritten. However, that future will never come. I think truth is a fleeting thing. Even if I am a good person until my death, if some heartless person after my death overwrites the records and says that I wasn't a good person, and if that is shared with everyone else, then even all the goodness in which I have lived my life could be overwritten easily. And so I think that I won't live as good a person for all eternity.
金蔵さんが犯人でないとおっしゃるならば、金蔵さんに犯行が不可能であるというアリバイが必要です。そうでなくては真の意味で夏日さんを犯人だと特定できません。
Erica has probably known for a long time. Kinzo is nothing more than an illusion to make the inheritance problem more uncertain. However, it would be very hard to prove that he was an illusion. The only way to do this would be to confirm Kinzo's death. But as has been made known by the Red Truth in previous games, Kinzo died a long time ago. And in this 5th game, his corpse hasn't even appeared. In a situation like this, it wouldn't be easy to absolutely prove his death. Unless... if Kinzo's death was confirmed, it would practically erase that defeat in the study. It was the only way Erica had of removing the humiliation of that loss. And there was something that could confirm Kinzo's death almost as certainly as real proof. And that was the confession of the culprit. It would mean having Natsuhi herself acknowledge that Kinzo no longer existed in this world. That way, it would be acknowledged that Erica's reasoning in the study was correct. That loss would be painted over, and it would be rewritten as Erica's victory. Which I'm pretty sure she's very gung-ho on doing. Battler hung suspended by Delanor's red longsword. Beato had disappeared by having her existence denied, and her minions had gone too. In this cathedral that they had disappeared from, well, only Natsuhi and the witches convicting her remained.
あくまでも金蔵は生きてて島のどこかに残っていると言い張るのね。
そうです。お父様はご健在でおられます。誰が何と言おうと、私はそれを翻します。
過去のゲームの赤き真実で金蔵がすでに死亡していることは確定してるわ。でもそれじゃあベルンの気が収まらないわけでしょ。
ええ、そうよ。完璧な勝利を私は求めてるの。だから赤で金蔵の死が決まってるから、それでチェックメイトなんて面白くないの。
Oh, we're really gonna go further here with this.
夏日の口からリザインと言わせて勝利したいのよ。
They're just gonna bully her to the very end.
ならやってごらんなさいよ。お手並みを拝見させてもらうわ。
我が主、今こそ我らに完全なる勝利を。
無論よ。夏日、あなたは金蔵は間違いなく生きているけれど、その所在はわからない。
ええ、そうです。お父様は窓よりお出になられて行方知れず、全く困った方です。
ラムダ、金蔵の24時から朝までの所在について確実にするわ。金蔵は24時から朝までずっと同じ部屋に滞在したわ。
そりゃそうでしょ、死体なんだから。いや、ごめん。そうよね。そうでしょうね。
I mean, it makes sense, yeah.
口を挟まないわ。
Let's see where she goes with
面白そうだから
this.
続けてちょうだい。
これより金蔵という言葉を生きている金蔵という意味で使うわ。何しろ夏日は生きていると主張するのだから。続けて赤き真実を語るわ。金蔵は屋敷以外の場所には存在しない。そうよね、エリカ。
はい、我が主、金蔵の姿を探し、屋敷の外、敷地内をくまなく捜索しました。しかし、金蔵は発見できませんでした。
Because of the detective's authority, Erica could find all clues. Therefore, if Erica was unable to find a hint that Kinzo existed outside the mansion, it was the same as proving that Kinzo didn't exist outside the mansion. size of the island be damned. Therefore, Brinka still repeated that truth of Erika's.
金蔵は屋敷以外の場所に存在しない。ねえ、夏日。なら、金蔵が存在するなら、屋敷内のどこかにいることになるわ。どこに金蔵が隠れているのか、心当たりがあったら教えてくれない？
わかりかねます。何しろこの定期です。中庭へ出られた後、お屋敷のどこかへ隠れ、雨をしのがれていたとしても何も不思議はありません。
私はこれからも同じ質問を数度繰り返すわ。あなたに名誉ある幸福の機会を数度与える。
Oh man.
痩せ我慢が過ぎると本当の名誉まで失うことになるわよ。
She's gonna lose her true honor.
いかなる脅しにも私が屈することはありません。
あなたは本当にいじめがいのある駒だわ。では続けるわよ。
Yeah, here we
以上
go.
の理由から金蔵さんが屋敷以外の場所にいることは考えられません。そこでまず書斎のあった3階を徹底的に捜索しました。
だがどこにも隠れる場所はなかった。3階に親父の姿は影も形もない。
ではどこにいるんでしょう、夏日さん。
知りません。3階にいないなら地下にでも隠れたのではありませんか？
ええ、地下ですね。ボイラー室、地下倉庫など怪しげな地下も全て捜索させていただきました。
ええ、私も探したわ。お父様の姿なんてどこにもなかった。
繰り返します。金蔵さんはどこにいるんですか、夏日さん。
なら1階か2階にでもいたのでしょう。
そうですね。
She's not questioning
消
it.
去法で行くならそうなります。
Like, she's not saying things as like a question, because if you didn't know about something, you would kind of throw the question back at them, because you don't know. So it's supposed to be kind of like a group discussion where you all are kind of questioning, not towards one person in particular, but just in general. Could he have been here? Could he have been there? But no, she's just throwing it out there. They're all exclamations. They're all statements.
そして1階を徹底的に捜索しました。結果は？
いいえ、お父様の姿を見つけることはできなかったわ。
繰り返します。金蔵さんはどこにいたんですか？
では2階に隠れていたのでしょう。お父様が隠れている場所を私が知るわけないでしょう。
本当にそうでしょうか。夏日さんは金蔵さんがどこに隠れていたのか。
奥様が、親方様がどこに隠れていたのかご存知？
そんなバカな。
Well, of course she's gonna know where his corpse is.
そんなことあるはずありません。
Both Shannon and Kano knew that Kinzo was already dead, so they didn't have a clue how Erika would use a phantom of a person who didn't exist to corner Natsuhi.
屋敷以外の場所に金蔵はいない。3階に金蔵はいない。地下に金蔵はいない。1階に金蔵はいない。以上から金蔵が存在しうる余地の検討は2階だけとなるわ。
Okay.
赤き真実を認めるわ。
He's on the second floor then. That's the only possible, location, I guess.
夏日、金蔵は2階のどこかにいるはず。まだどこに隠れてるか教えてくれないの？
She's gonna keep on saying that she doesn't know.
何度聞かれても答えられないものは答えられません。
エリカ、それでは端から順に2階のすべてを捜索していきなさい。すべての手がかりを絶対に見落とさず、いかなる隠し扉も隠し部屋も看破できる探偵権限で。
はい。
I mean, there shouldn't be any hidden doors or
夏
rooms.
日さんって結構頭悪い方ですよね。
At least there's not gonna be any that she can't see through.
まだ話の落としどころ見えないんですか？
余計なことは言わなくていいわ。さあエリカ、 全員を引き連れて捜索を始めなさい。
Oh boy, oh boy. To the second floor we go. I love a good field trip. Erika used her detective's authority to take everyone, even Natsuhi, and go up to the second floor to search every room starting at one end. Even for rooms that were thought to have nothing at all to do with the crime, Erika did not relax her search in the slightest. Her search was thorough in every single room as they moved through them all.
まだ金蔵さんはどこに隠れているか教えてくださらないのですか？
いい加減になさい。私は知らないと何度口にすればいいのですか？
夏日さん、このまま調べていってもきっと金蔵さんは見つかりませんよね。
Unless he's not here at all. They could have just completely disposed of Kinzo's corpse long ago. I do find it interesting that in previous episodes his corpse was found in the boiler, burning away. But again, some sort of amount of time has passed before the beginning of the game that he had died, either right before or a year and a half before. So I find it a little unreasonable for them to have his corpse just kind of, decaying here. But the Red Truth did state that the only possible location that, he could actually be somewhere here is now on the second floor, process of elimination, unless he absolutely is not here at all. Of course, Kinzo does not exist. No matter how long the search continues, it's just a waste of time. This was known by Erika, the witch's piece, and Natsuhi, the one who knew the truth.
となると、捜索はあの廊下の突き当たりの部屋を最後とします。つまり、あの部屋を残して、すべての部屋に金蔵さんがいなかったことが証明されると、どうなると思います？
He isn't on the third floor or the first floor or the basement, and he isn't in any of the rooms on the second floor except the one at the end. So if he really did exist inside the mansion, it had been proven that he could only exist in that room at the end. In other words, this was Hempel's Raven, because it had been established that a living Kinzo couldn't exist anywhere except the final room at the end of the quarter. That's right, we're talking about a living Kinzo, I forgot. So, yeah, despite the Red Truth, no, I mean, we're not going to find anything. I completely forgot Burnka still stating that Kinzo meant a living Kinzo. That automatically meant that a living Kinzo existed in that final room, and that final room at the end of the corridor was...
突き当たりの部屋って何の部屋だっけ？
Lambda Delta was munching on a refill of popcorn. It's her
夏日
room.
の部屋です。ラムダデルタ卿。
つまり金蔵は夏日の部屋以外に隠れ場所はなかったということになるのよ。赤で言う必要ある？も
ちろん。
夏日の部屋を除くすべての場所に金蔵は存在しない。
A living Kinzo, that is. Because I'm slow on the uptake here.
というわけで、残すところはこの部屋だけとなりました。以上により、この部屋以外に金蔵さんはいらっしゃらないことになりました。
ここは私の部屋ではありませんか？
Good observation.
私の部屋のどこにお父様がいると？
In a rage, Natsuhi unlocked the door to her room and pointed inside. Of course, Kinzo was nowhere to be seen.
どこにお父様の姿があるというのです。ほら！
なるほど。いらっしゃられないようですね。私たちが来ることを察知して、また窓からお逃げにでもなったのでしょうか。
If Kinzo wasn't in this last room, it meant that he didn't exist anywhere. There was no living Kinzo outside the mansion. There was no living Kinzo inside the mansion. Therefore, no living Kinzo existed. However, Erika didn't make that argument. She had pointed that out herself without making a checkmate. It was because Burnka still didn't want to win by cornering Natsuhi with the Red Truth. She wanted to force Natsuhi to accept a humiliating resignation.
私がこれまで捜索してきたのは金蔵さんの姿だけではありません。金蔵さんが24時から朝まで隠れていたことを示す痕跡です。そしてそれも存在しませんでした。
つまり24時から朝までの間、金蔵はある一室にこもり続けたことになってて、そしてそれは夏日の部屋ということだわ。
赤き真実によるチェックメイトがと金蔵の幻という駒を夏日の部屋にまで追い詰めたということよ。
ねえ夏日さん、つまりあなたは朝までこの部屋で金蔵さんとご一緒だったことになるわけです。それでもあなたは金蔵さんのことをご存じないとおっしゃられるのですか？
私が赤き真実で認めるわ。24時から朝までの一晩、生きた金蔵は夏日の部屋を除く全ての場所に存在しない。その真実から夏日の部屋にしか存在しなかったと議論を進めることを許すわ。
司法取引ねえ夏日、頭の悪いあなたでももうそろそろまずいと気づいてきたんじゃない？これが最後のチャンスよ。金蔵を犯人にしなさい。後ろ宮家当主を犯罪者とし、自らの保身のために当主の栄光を自らの手で打ち壊してみせなさい。
She won't do it.
あなたがその勇気を見せたら、あなたを当主をかばうために濡れ衣をかぶろうとした悲劇のヒロインに筋書きを変えてあげるわ。
お父様は無実です。お父様を犯罪者にすることなど私には断じてできません。
取引拒否いいわベル、やっちゃいなさい。
24時から朝までの一晩、生きた金蔵の存在する余地はあなたのベッドの中以外に存在しない。
Wow.
それはどういう意味ですか？
That is humiliating.
この部屋の徹底的な捜索および厳重な科学捜査の結果、この部屋の全域で24時から朝までの間、ただしあなたのベッドだけを除きます。
A shocked silence dominated the room. Natsuhi completely forgot to close her open mouth.
昨夜黄金発見の前後の頃、3階窓より脱出した金蔵さんはあなたの部屋のベッドの中にかくまわれていたということです。そしてさらに気の毒な捜査結果ですが、あなたもこのベッドで就寝されていたことが判明しています。
重ねて復唱するわ。24時から朝までの一晩、生きた金蔵の存在する余地は夏日のベッドの中以外に存在しない。そして夏日も昨晩同じベッドで就寝したわ。
あら、仲良しさんたちね。
That is so
二
terrible.
人で仲良く
That is so
枕を
terrible.
分けっこして眠ったわけね。
青き真実以上から後宮夏日と
No,
後宮金
man.
蔵
No, no, no.
男女が同じ枕で一晩過ごして他に何を推測しろと。
無礼者！
That is so fucked, actually.
敬愛してやまないお父様となんて許せません。
夏日、青き真実には赤き真実で反論なさい。もちろん魔女でないあんたに使える赤はない。だから私が代わりに赤き真実で語ってあげてもいいわ。私を納得させられる証拠を示せるならね。
そんな証拠あるわけがありません。私をどこまで愚弄するというのですか？おのれ！
Damn. Whenever I said that she was gonna get bullied a little bit ago, I didn't mean like this. This is fucked up. Natsuhi tried to attack Erika, but Ava pinned her arms behind her back so she couldn't do anything.
なんというおぞましいことでしょう。夏日さんは後宮家に復讐するためにまず後宮家の全てを乗っ取ろうと企てたのです。そのため夏日さんは体を武器に金蔵さんを籠絡したのです。
そんなことはしません。私は自分の体を夫以外に許したことはただの一度もありません。
否定されたい気持ちもわかりますが、
Oh, my bad.
あなたが金蔵さんと密会を重ねていたことはすでに複数の関係者からの証言で明らかです。だって昨晩だって金蔵さんの書斎で
Damn.
二人っきりでお休みのご挨拶をされてたんですものね。
Yeah, where was Krause and all of that?
それどころか明らかな情報の痕跡の証言も複数
No. No. What the fuck? What have you found?
誰です。誰がそんないい加減なことを。ゴーダシャノンエヴァさんでしょう。そんないい加減なことを言ったのはあなたでしょう。誰
関係者証言を受領したわ。これは致命的ね。もう疑いようがないわ。
ねえ夏日、もうあんたの名誉なんてこれっぽっちもないわけだけど、最悪のかけらを紡がれる前に最後にもう一度だけチャンスをあげるわ。金蔵はいませんでしたって言ってごらんなさい。
そうよね。夏日、あんた強情だわ。もう後ろ宮家なんてどうせボロボロじゃない。そんなにも金蔵がいることにして遺産問題をうやむやにしたいの？
これは私がお父様に託された後宮家の名誉を守る夫の事業は必ず結実します。それによって借金を返済するまで後宮家の家督を引き渡すわけにはいかないのです。お父様の名誉も夫の名誉もそれが私の使命なんです。
死者の名誉を守ろうとは見上げた根性だわ。
死者じゃないわ。夏日の頭の中の都合のいい妄想の名誉よ。本当の金蔵はその名誉を守れなんて一度たりとも夏日に命じたことなんてないんだから。
Damn, this really is kind of messed up in a way. As Natsuhi screamed, she fell down to her hands and knees. She no longer had any way to reject the fake truth that Bernkastil and Erika have weaved.
ゲームマスターラムダデルタの名において本ゲームの勝利者がベルンカステル教であることを認めるわ。意義ある者は名乗りを上げよ。
Anybody? Anybody at all? Of course there were none. All of those who might have objected had been erased.
意義ある者なし。ベルン、あんたの勝ちよ。見事な勝ちっぷりだったわ。真相のかけらをあなたが紡ぎなさい。
ええ、それでは私が真相を紡ぐわ。これがこの悲しく間抜けな物語の真相よ。本当は泣き笑いしながら罪を認めた夏日に自ら語ってほしかったんだけどね。それがお約束なんでしょ。
Wow. What a chapter. But that pretty much is going to lead us to the end of this lovely story. Wow. After being forced into an unwanted marriage, Natsuhi developed a grudge against the Ushiromiya family and was filled with a desire for revenge. Trial summary, page 3. As revenge for... Wait, what did that say? Yeah, trial summary. Okay, just making sure. As revenge for financially ruining her birth family, Natsuhi also plotted to take over the Ushiromiya family's fortune. Trial summary, page 4. When Natsuhi learned that the wealth of the Ushiromiya family was for all intents and purposes controlled by Kinzo himself, she initiated sexual relations to curry favor with him and managed to ensnare him. Trial summary, page 7. Burncastle documents, page 682. To curry favor with Kinzo, Natsuhi repeatedly disguised herself as Beatrice, a witch and figment of Kinzo's imagination, and engaged in sexual acts. Wow. Kinzo saw Natsuhi dressed as the mistress from his past and was easily ensnared. Additionally, a servant happened to witness her in this outfit, forming part of the basis for the legend of the witch. Trial summary, page 8. Submitted evidence number 17. Burncastle documents, page 802. However, late at night, on October 4th, 1986, Ushiromiya Battler discovered the hidden gold. Natsuhi planned the crimes after the relatives raised a fuss and insisted that Battler should succeed the headship. She murdered the children in the cousin's room and tried to frame Battler for the crime. Furthermore, Genji was murdered because he was opposed to this scheme. Later on, Hideyoshi was also murdered. After this point, Natsuhi displayed a strong intent to murder all those involved without discrimination. Trial summary, page 27. Supplemental materials B, part 61. Burncastle documents, page 1103. Goddamn. Referencing a lot of things here. The concrete details of the crimes are as follows. On October 4th, 1986, midnight, Natsuhi decided to commit the crimes. Because Genji refused to assist her when asked, she murdered him. She then murdered her husband Kraus in his own room. Trial summary, page 40. Supplemental materials S, page 8. Burncastle documents, page 1105. God damn it. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law, A09, number 9974. That is so funny. And so serious. Afterwards, she went to the cousin's room on the upper floor of the guest house, waited for Rosa to join the rest, and killed George, Jessica, Maria, and Rosa. She mutilated the necks of the bodies. Afterwards, because there were people in the downstairs lounge, she waited in an empty room upstairs. She hid in this empty room until the people in the lounge dispersed and went to bed. Okay, actually, see, that's something that I was kind of thinking in the previous video, is like, somebody was up there, because Rosa's the only one that was acknowledged going up there, so somebody had to have been already up there, you know? Or had the means of travel outside of that time frame. I brought it up. It had to be an after, Battler, returned to the guest house time, which is 3 a.m. Anyways, trial summary, page 41. Supplemental materials S, page 10. Burncastle documents, page 1131. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law, A09, number 9974. The people in the lounge dispersed just after 3 a.m. Natsuhi left the empty room and escaped from the guest house. She returned to her room where she met up with Kinzo, who had been hiding there. They spent the rest of the night there together. Kinzo left the room early next morning and concealed himself somewhere near the guest house. Trial summary, page 41. Supplemental materials S, page 29. Burncastle documents, page 1200. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law, A09, number 9974. Afterwards, Kinzo saw his chance and carried off the bodies of the 6 victims, one by one, hiding them. Unfortunately, these hidden bodies have not been found. Trial summary, page 42. Supplemental materials as page 37. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law A09, number 9974. Natsuhi, who had failed in her scheme to cast suspicion on Battler, changed her plan to include the murder of all present. Trial summary, page 58. Supplemental materials T, page 19. Burnkenstill documents, page 1348. God damn it, this shit's so silly. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law A09, number 9974. Predicting that one of those present would eventually want to take a rest in a private room, Natsuhi concealed herself inside a closet in one of the guest rooms. Okay, but that one's a little interesting, you know? Like, how would anyone know that that was the room that, you know, anyone was going to go to, right? Because there's multiple guest rooms in the building. Unless it was like an already being used guest room. So, like, you know, just whoever decides to take a rest at whatever point, they were going to die because whoever was already there. That one's a little weird. When Hideyoshi visited that room at approximately 1 p.m., she murdered him. Trial summary, page 61. Supplemental materials T, page 26. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law A09, number 9974. Natsuhi once again concealed herself in the closet from the time the others became aware of the incident to the time that they carried out Hideyoshi's body. Furthermore, as proof of this, a button from Natsuhi's clothes was found in the closet. That one's new. Okay, but that does also prove that she was there in that closet. Like, she actually was there for sure. Afterwards, she exited the closet and tried to return to her own room. However, Furuto Erika discovered her on the way, and Natsuhi confessed to her crimes after questioning. Trial summary, page 63. Supplemental materials T, page 32. Submitted evidence number 26. Burnkenstill documents, page 1348. Lambda Delta documents, line 7. Great Court Internal Documents, Library of Law A09, number 9974. Great Court Internal Documents, Legal Management U99, number 0107. Great Court Official Notice, number 01724434. What the fuck? Jesus. Okay, so Great Court Official Notice number 01724434. Trial of... Wait, we're still going? Wait, what's going on here? Trial of Illusions number 0147-007982. October 5th, 1986, midnight, decides as follows. Okay, I see. Ushiromiya Natsuhi confessed to the crimes. For a period of 13 months following this announcement, related documents may be perused as the Great Court Legal Offices, or at the Great Court Legal Offices Document Management Center, first subsection. Great Court Deputy Attorney General, Chief Inquisitor, Delano A. Knox. Whew. That was a lot. That was a lot for, like, no reason there.
私がやったことにすればいいんでしょ。そう言わせたいんでしょ。
As though she had given up and decided that it would be useless to try and talk her way out of this any longer, Natsuhi screamed that out. It was a sad incident. I wanted to believe that despite the pitiable circumstances that led to her marriage into the Ushiromiya family, Natsuhi just might have been able to grasp a sliver of happiness together with Uncle Kraus and Jessica. However, by Aunt Natsuhi's own doing, Uncle Kraus and even her beloved daughter Jessica had been heartlessly killed. It was even harder to believe that grandfather had been an accomplice and hid the corpses. However, judging by the clear testimony given by several people who knew him, grandfather's mental state for these last few years had been far from what anyone would consider normal. Perhaps possessed by a mad devotion to the mistress that he had lost long ago, grandfather might truly have believed that Aunt Natsuhi was a reincarnation of Beatrice. Yeah, I don't know about all that, but where is grandfather now? Like Erika had theorized, did he really believe that he could revive Beatrice by carrying out murders following the epitaph, succumbing to Natsuhi's casualty? Right now, is he holding some kind of disturbing ceremony with the bodies he carried away?
私にこう言わせたかったんでしょう。
Aunt Natsuhi sobbed as she spoke.
これがあなたの復讐なんでしょう。19年前の男。
This man from 19 years ago that Aunt Natsuhi kept mentioning was supposedly someone who had caught her in some sort of trap. However, she had only mentioned that this man from 19 years ago existed, and she most certainly hadn't tried to explain what had happened 19 years ago. That might have helped.
この中にあの男の手先が混じっているはずです。あの男はあなたたちの誰かを通じて今のこの私を嘲笑っているでしょう。なら伝えなさい。これで19年間あなたを災難だ痛みと苦しみは少しは言えましたか。ようやく私をここまで追い詰めたのはそれを認めさせたかったからですね。
夏日さん、私たち以外に部外者は一切存在しません。意もしない人物がさも存在するように振る舞うなんて、往生際の悪い芝居はやめてください。
Erica laughed mockingly, but as Aunt Natsuhi looked at us, no, as she looked at some being behind us, she hid her head and shook. Then she confessed to her sin. The sin from 19 years ago?
殺人を
Supposedly?
犯しました。
やっと直接的な言葉で罪を認めましたね。
いいえ、昨日今日の事件のことではありません。19年前の殺人について告白します。
Yeah, like I said, this might help her, you know, her story that she's now bringing up here about how she was trapped. The adults all whispered together, wondering what this was about, because they had never heard about a murder case 19 years ago.
今から私は罪を犯しました。許せなかったのです。その赤ん坊が。
赤ん坊？今さら何の話ですか
？19年前のあの日、私はお父様より一人の赤ん坊を託されました。いつまでも跡継ぎを身ごもることのできない私に、ならば養子を迎えよとお父様がおっしゃり、施設から連れてきたという一人の赤ん坊を私に抱かせたのです。それが私にどれほど女としての屈辱を与えたか。
With a mix of conflicting emotions of anger, sadness, regret, and possibly defiance, Aunt Natsuhi confessed. Her humiliation as a woman when she was no longer expected to bear a child, and also the indescribably unpleasant feeling of being made to hold an unfamiliar baby. It caused her great sadness and rage, and before very many nights passed, it ate a hole into her heart.
そして私は心を悪魔に売り渡したのです。あれは赤ん坊を抱かせた使用人と共にバラ庭園から船着き場の方へ散歩に行った時でした。私は一人になりたかったのですが、赤ん坊を連れたその使用人の女は律儀に私の後について回りました。一人にしてくれとさえ言い出せず、だから赤ん坊の泣き声から逃れられず、その日より19年間私を苛む長き頭痛の日々の始まりにうめいていました。そして昨夜崖を望み、遥か眼下の岩浜にこの赤ん坊を放り捨てることで全てなかったことにできれば、そんな悪魔の誘惑を私は確かに聞きました。そしてそれが本当にできたらどれほど素晴らしいかと、その誘惑にほんの一瞬耳。その時赤ん坊を抱いた使用人が大きな石を踏んで 足をくじきよろめいた。そして粗末な柵に寄りかかり、その時柵が大きくきしんだ気がした。私は危ないと言いながら肩をつかもうとしました。いえ、そんな曖昧な言い方はしません。懺悔します。告白します。私はあの時確かに危ないと言いながらその使用人の肩を両手でドンと強く押し飛ばしたのです。粗末な柵は根元から折れ、使用人とその手に抱かれた赤ん坊と一緒に眼下の岩浜へ転落していきました。その瞬間のことを鮮明に覚えているのに、なのになぜか曖昧でとても不思議な気持ちだったのを覚えています。転落したというより、まるで何もない宙に2人が音もなく飲み込まれて消えたようにさえ感じたのです。だから私は2人が岩浜に落下した音さえ聞いています。いえ、きっと聞いているのです。でも消えたと思い込みたかったから、その聞いた音を
Wow.
それから
私は一瞬これが夢だと信じました。あの高さですから、ちょっと身を乗り出したくらいでは眼下の2人は見えません。だから2人が落ちたことさえ、ほんの数秒前のことさえ現実のことなのかわからなくて、きっと私はここから赤ん坊が落ちればいいのにと願いすぎて白昼夢を見てしまったに違いない。そう自らに思い込ませ、足早にバラ庭園に戻り、赤ん坊は使用人に任せ、私は一人
shoot, my bad.
ここで
Sorry.
休んでいたことにしました。
I don't know why I keep doing that. I wonder if Rosa was alive to hear this story, what she would think.
そしてお父様に赤ん坊はどうしたのかと問われ、任せた使用人の姿が見えないと騒ぎになって。
Eventually, the broken fence was discovered, and the two corpses were found at the bottom of the cliff. The child had apparently been here for reasons that couldn't become known, so its existence was hushed up, and the official story was that the servant had had an accident on her own and died.
そう、私は一度に2人もの罪なき命を奪ったのです。気の毒な使用人については遺族に十分なねぎらいをしました。真相を知らない老いた夫は不幸な事故を嘆きつつもそれに納得してくれました。そしてほんの数年前、老衰で亡くなり、私は墓前で真相を告白し謝罪しました。しかし私は今日もあの赤ん坊に謝罪したことはありません。そう、それがあなたの目的でしょう。だから私は今ここで罪を告白します。後宮夏日は19年前にあなたを崖から突き落として殺そうとしました。でもあなたは死んでいなかったのですね。こうして生きていて、それでも私を母さんと呼び、この島へ帰ってきて、こうして復讐をされたのですね。あなたはこの19年間、母と呼ぶはずだった私に突き落とされたことを知って、どれほどの憎悪の人生を送ったのでしょうね。そしてあなたは、私があなたを突き落としてから経た18年間の人生をこうして全て、もう私には愛した夫も娘もいません。そして私には名誉もなく、こうして人殺し呼ばわりされた。いえ、本当に人殺しですものね。
I mean, if this really did happen, yes.
そうです。あなたの目論見通り、私は今や人殺しとみなされています。どうですか？復讐にはこれで十分ですか？夫と娘を殺され、人殺しの汚名を着せられ、不貞の汚名まで。
Yeah, you're supposedly into the older guys there, Natsuhi. That's a rough one.
生き恥をかかされる私を見て、あなた
And
は
I
満
mean
足ですか
older guys.
さぞや満足でしょうね。私、家族も名誉もすべて奪い去ったのですから。
この後に及んでまだ濡れ衣だと言い張るんですか？まったくあなたは本当に往生際の悪い。
聞こえていますか？19年前の呪われた赤ん坊、これで満足ですか？あなたはまだ何か足りないというのですか？許して。
I mean, let's say potentially the story was true that there. Oh, hello, Battler. Hold on. Fuck whatever I'm trying to say. Okay, wait. Well, hold on. Yeah, before we get into Battler's, it's all useless deal. Well, let's say this is true. Let's say that yeah, she made a mistake where she was given an opportunity to raise a child because she was failing to have one of her own. And yeah, I can see how that could be very demoralizing because. Well, yeah, especially if you're actually trying to have one of your own. You didn't have this conversation with your partner to go and adopt, but instead a baby was forced towards you and you had to accept. That's got to be rough. And you're told, all right, this is your baby now. I'm sure for either parent, that has got to be horrible. That's got to be just terrible, especially for a mother. And whether or not this did happen, whether or not she actually, accidentally or purposely pushed a servant and a baby off of a cliff because she was just oh so tired or angry or whatever her feelings were. Does that really change what could have happened here? Was there really a situation where she felt trapped? We've already seen multiple times that her delusions are very much so. She's a delusional person. And I do believe that. She believes a lot of things that are not true when it comes to Kinzo. And it's because of the hush-hush that she's been having to do for Kinzo. So she's in her head over this, and she's probably extremely stressed and pressured by it too. So, with all that in mind, could also the stress and pressure from this person from supposedly 19 years ago, if all that happened, could that all have been true? Or is her mind still messing with her? I think she is a delusional person. Maybe that did lead her to doing things that she's not proud of. Is she the murderer? No. And that's been stated in red, and I successfully predicted it. Not through, any deduction of my own, really, but I just felt like that wasn't the case. She's not the killer. She's not responsible for those that died, but could she have had a helping hand? Maybe. Purposely? Maybe. Accidentally? Probably, because she's very delusional.
バトラーさん、何か言いました？
But what does Battler have to say?
全然ダメだぜ。
バトラー君？
ああ、ダメだな。全然ダメだぜ。
I'm not clicking anymore, by the way. What do you got, Battler? Oh, okay, I guess nothing. I guess we don't have shit. I thought Battler was gonna come in saying, like, I'm the son. Wouldn't that be a crazy one? The thing is that we have this supposed deal with, okay, yeah, Kinzo deceased, Kraus first Twilight, Natsuhi alive. Okay, yeah, this we should all know. I'm looking for anything that might stand out. So wait, the game was suspended is the terminology being used, by the way. So maybe this one isn't necessarily over. All right, here's our witches and demons and such. Our wacky characters. We didn't see too much of the Seven Sisters this time, but they were here. They were. The damn Chester sisters were there too. All the goats. 5th game, End of the Golden Witch. Yeah, this was her end, all right, wasn't it? So what does Battler have to say at our suspension point here? What does he have to add on to all of that after hearing Natsuhi's story? I wonder. All right. Getting some trophies now. So let's go. The Golden Witch has prepared a gift. Yeah. We'll get to go dig into all of that. I'm sure we have the tea party. We have the unknown section to come after. And then we have the... I guess we don't have it right now. We have the picture box, which is, you know, just scenes from the game. But we don't have the character list yet. We have the music box. You know, all of our, you know, many love... I can't scroll with this, actually. Or I can't grab the thing and scroll. There's so many more tracks that we have to, like, you know, hear for the first time. There were some new ones that I was, you know, hearing near the end of this with our lovely showdown. But it looks like the next thing we get to jump into is the tea party. I was told that either the tea party or unknown scenario that comes up after those, one of them is at least a little longer. I think the other one is just regular length, whatever that means. So let me make sure that we're not going to go into the title menu screen or the cinematic. Yeah, I wonder what Battler was going to say there. I don't think Battler is the person from 19 years ago, but at the very beginning of this episode, you guys will maybe remember, I brought up that sounded like Battler's voice actor, and therefore it had to have been Battler, but people in the comments said that, you know, voice actors were kind of used in multiple spots, and I think that was the case for Battler's voice actor, that he was just kind of filling another role. And I guess that makes sense, but, you know, thinking about it, Battler is about that age, right? He's 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there, right? And there's supposedly some sort of mystery around whether, you know, his mother is really his mother, which I think it was stated in red that that is not the case. So if there really was a baby, right? You know, let's just throw that out there. Let's just say there really was a baby that was just Battler. And he isn't the child from, you know, from his supposed mother along with Rudolph. You know, he wasn't born from the two of them. Then who the fuck was he born from, you know? Was he really the child that fell down that cliff? Was he really, you know, well, how did he get brought up to his parents then, you know? How did he get to that point to be with Rudolph and Kyrie and Ange, you know? There's some good questions to ask here. So that's why I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily the case in that regard, but we really got to consider where Battler came from, because that is still kind of up in the air, very much so. All right, well, we'll wrap it up on this one. We'll see if the tea party or if the other scenario, if that touches upon the game further, or I was starting to think maybe the rest of this story is going to get tackled in episode 6, which would be a first for a game to go on that long, but there just might be more to figure out, especially since we have to just go forth with the, I guess, the declaration that Natsuhi is the culprit. But I don't think that's the case. We know that's not the case. We just can't prove it. So we have that lovely situation on our hands, but we're leaving a game, supposedly, without the witch having killed everybody. Maybe. That's another thing to consider. So I think we got a fun one coming up for us here in episode 6, but we'll see how the remainder, the epilogue sections of episode 5, the Tea Party, and that other scenario, what they have in store for us before we could really close the curtain on episode 5 here. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy.